Uh, G'day. In this live stream, what we're looking to do is see if we can build an application a day for the next 30 days using Replit. Now, who is this aimed at? So partly, well, generally it's aimed at me, and I'm a developer. I'm a software architect, but I'm also a business owner. So if you're working within any of those areas, this could be aimed for you. So one of the challenges I want to do is make sure that I'm efficient with the work that I do on a day-to-day basis on the job that I do. And so are there any applications that I could create just to make my life more productive in that particular field? The next area is, if you're a developer, what are the little tools and techniques you want to learn about if you're using Replit as one of your pair programmers? Now, this should apply to most pair programming tools, because a lot of where I'll be coming at is from the idea of setting up requirements that give you a successful application out of the gate, like one-shot prompts. But the last area is if you're an entrepreneur, solopreneur, business owner, SME, anything like that, or SMB, I should say, anything like that. Do you need to automate some of your workflows, and you thought, there's this no-code craze going on out there, can I do it myself? But you don't know where to get started. And so the idea of this live stream over 30 days is where I just do little experiments on applications and see what works, what doesn't work. Now, something to know is that I've been developing for a long time, but it's not, these days, like 30 years into it, it's not what I would call a core competency. There's all these developers out there that just, they're grinding 8 hours a day in whatever environment they're doing, and I don't have the luxury of that sort of stuff. So a lot of the skills that I have drop off. But what doesn't drop off is just the understanding of how the software development lifecycle works and how we can use AI pair programmers to do a lot of the work. So let's get into it, and everything I've just been talking about has come from a little reference card that I set up, because today's talking points is defining the app's requirements, using AI to assist in building, and sharing key lessons and takeaways. So whatever I learned today. Now, let's move on. So you're launching a 30-day challenge. It's about tiny SaaS applications with Replit. Now, I've just done a brief summary of a conversation. So what's in it? This was about doing 30 apps in 30 days, and we can see just above us that I've got a list of applications that I could do in the next 30 days. Now, I don't know what I'll do. I have no idea. It'll change from day to day, and quite often it'll just solve the sorts of problems that I've got in my own workflows. The other thing to note is that as I go, there's so much I don't know, and we've got ChatGPT and tasks. So I've set up a Replit efficiency lab. It's a scheduled task that runs every day, and essentially what it's doing is taking the core information that I've got for this particular project, and just each day doing a little bit of research on unanswered questions that I have today. It can answer for me tomorrow. So that'll be going on during the project. And this is me just testing scheduled tasks, which I've been doing for a week or so. The next thing to look at is, what's the summary of this? Micro app requirements spec template. Okay, so this is a requirements template. I think we'll go in deep into this right now. And it's about the consideration that it's not for a standard human programmer, but it's for a pair programmer that's AI driven. And the way they operate is different to a human. And so we need to consider that. So special instructions sections. So let's go to the top of this conversation and see where it started. And I said, I need a short template for micro app requirements documents. It gives you all the sorts of stuff you want. Name of the app, description, who's it for, platforms, etc. And as I was looking through this, I realized that almost all of it, except for the stuff at the top, wasn't really relevant for Replit. Now, let me give you an example. When it comes to the tech stack, and well, yeah, when we come to that, this is not something we necessarily need to decide, because a lot of these AI pair programmers, they already have what they consider the best practice. They have their stacks that they like to use in different scenarios. So I shouldn't be forcing it if I'm using an AI pair programmer. Sure, I'd force it if I'm a software architect, but not as a building a tool. So, and then there's other stuff like hosting and deployment. That'll get dealt with for me by Replit. Security and compliance. This is an internal tool, so I don't need these. So I just said remove a bunch of things and we get down to a short list. But then when I looked at this, I realized there was other problems. If I want the writer, now this is all speech to text, so there'll be grammar issues, but I'm trying to let it know there's an AI pair programmer. They think differently, they work differently, they make some things easier, some things that we think are obvious a lot harder. So I've just put some information. Detailed logging. So this is the biggest problem I've had. Every time I do something in Replit, I've done about 5 little experiments, so I don't really know it, but I've done these 5 experiments, and generally when something breaks, you get into this loop, and the first thing you realize is you need detailed logging. So it's probably better that that's in the requirements. What else we got? Explainability. The code should be commented. Yeah, this is really clear as well, and should have robust error handling. And I've just said, give me a summary. So this is where we started. So what's the next conversation I got here? Okay. Here's a summary of the conversation. Communicate, ask before assuming. Okay, so what I'm trying to do here, I believe, let's go back to the top. I've told it everything I'm doing. I've got things to define. I did this about a week ago, so I'm not up to speed on what it is. But one of the problems I have with ChatGPT conversations in general, and what I want to make clear in like a system prompt within this conversation, is ask, don't assume. The problem is you give it context and it just starts talking about stuff that you're not interested in. So I want the responses to be concise, stay interactive, no unsolicited options. So what this conversation we've been talking about here so far has been day one, application list manager, not just a picker. We're discussing its core functionality and part of the project, current step. So I think this is where we're going to start. We're going to build a requirements document. If we come back here and we just jump up, I think we got a template, so we could copy that. I'm not going to press Command C to copy it just yet. I'll come back here and I'll say, okay. So I don't know the full details of this conversation. You've given me a summary. This is wonderful. What I want to do today is use Replit to build a little list view and management software around a potential 30 to 100 micro applications that I want to be able to choose from to build. You already know that the goal is 30 apps in 30 days, but what the list needs to do is have a few useful fields that can keep track of these applications that we're doing, and a couple of state sort of concepts that we need to keep updated, like has the application been built? Is the application an idea that I'm ready to move forward on? Is the application an idea that I just want to park? I want to put it on the backlog. It's not of interest to me. I think it's also important that I have some sort of categorization going around the different types of applications. I think it's also important for you to understand that the pair programmer we'll be using can do web front ends pretty good, and it'll do a server application as well. It's not important for you to suggest a stack. It's not important for you to suggest deployment. It's not important for you to discuss security concerns. It is only important that you come up with the basic outlines and ideas for the application that we're looking to build today. You do not need to put it into a requirements document template because I already have that, and I'll give that to you when we need it. Now, unfortunately, because I've used Siri, there might be problematic mistypings in there, but it's a live stream, so I'm just going to let it go through anyway, and we'll press go. While that's happening, I'm going to close the door. It's a bit loud out there at the moment, and while my AI microphone probably blots it out for you, it's a bit distracting for me. So here we go. Application list story. Track 30 to 100 micro applications, useful fields, title, yep, category, status, complexity, notes, state tracking, and okay, cool. So I think, well, let's look at the functional flow. How do I see this working? I think I want to start from a list. I always want to have a list. I'm going to put in a couple of statements as we go. Just so you know, the first screen that we'll probably start off with is a list. I think we should have I do want to have a list, definitely. From now on, whenever you're doing a status, a category or anything like that, make sure you're just using lowercase dash notation. That'd be good. Okay, what else do I want to know here? I will want to have a bulk import and export capability that works not through the file system, but through a copy and paste text area. And that the tool, when used, especially the import, is destructive. It resets the list based on the incoming data. Found in a couple of the tests that I do is that if I introduce too much complexity into the database structure at the moment, like especially state changes, keeping multiple versions of stuff, I'll end up in a few loops in the coding, and I just want to get things that work the first time. We can always iterate on better data structures and schemas and stuff like that. I think I do want to see just a really simple schema of anything you think we need a database table for. And I want you to use a domain specific language. Maybe you know the website called dbdiagram.io. They use DSLs to describe database schemas. I'd like to see that. Let's see what else we got in here. I think this is good. Basic list view. Okay. I want to make sure that the list view is in table format. I find that easier for me. I think most people like cards, but it's my application. I get to do it the way I want. And this is a good thing if you're a small business owner. And I'll tell you a story. So I'm in Chiang Mai, and there's this lady, and she's building a large language model about psychic readings. And I'm thinking, that's cool. It's really cool. And she is not a developer. She has a little team that are helping her, but she's not a developer. And she ends up creating dozens of applications for her business. And this was all she was doing. She was using different tools. And I was really inspired by what she was doing, because as a developer, and even Appy Dave itself, what I'd love to be able to do is have the time and the energy to build an app a day. That was what Appy Dave was meant to be about, an app a day. And I don't. And here she was without any actual skills, using AI pair programmers to make really interesting applications for her business workflows. So anyway, that was story time. So what do we got? First list, yep, great. I'm not seeing our schema yet. I am now. There it is. So that's our schema. This is what I'd like to read. The name, category, status, complexity. I don't think complexity is important. It's obviously important if this was a legitimate app for out there, but every app I'm doing needs to be a one-shot prompt, so they all need to be simple. So we'll just state that. Remove complexity from the application we're building, and keep a note that the reason we don't need complexity is that this tool is not designed to create moderate or complex applications. In fact, this tool should work the first time or should be about building applications that can be done with one-shot prompting, maybe with 2 or 3 follow-up prompts. So it is implied that everything is simple. Now, I didn't need all that detail, but I'm communicating it to you as well, what we're trying to build. So we've got a name, category, status, notes. Okay, so what's that? They're the columns for the list view. We got states, idea, ready, in progress, built, parked, archived. Sounds good to me. And we're using the dash notation. Category, utility, AI assistant. Okay, cool. Bulk, yeah, great. Updated plan. Now there was something. I think it is important that the categories be data driven. So we're going to need a table for that. I think it is also important that, like the list view, they are destructive on import, so that we can easily refresh. Now, so there's things that you wouldn't do if you were building an application here, but the good thing is once you've built your first prototype, proof of concept, you could give it to a developer, and maybe there are workflows that we could develop that says, well, what's the next steps? So if the proof of concept or the minimum, you hear this term minimum viable product, but for me it's minimum viable prototype. It should work. That it's not for the customer, it's for internal usage. So, but then once you've done the minimum viable prototype, then what's the workflow that expands the functionality requirements? And that's the sort of stuff that you might want to do yourself, or you might want to hand off to someone else. Okay, cool. So what we'll do is we'll jump back here and we'll say, we got a name. Okay. I think a lot of the ideas that we've been building here or developing make a lot of sense. We've done a few. You haven't always listed them in the conversation just now, but a lot of them are in place. So just go back up to the beginning of when we started talking about this list manager, and then merge it with a template that I'm giving you right now so that we can build a requirements document. Here is the template. And we just paste everything in that came from here. And let's see what it builds for us. It's gone into canvas mode. So we could edit this, and I don't hopefully we don't have to, because this is not about, there is an aspect of this where we need to get into Replit. So while we're doing that, let's just pop up Replit GPT at the moment. This is where we're going to be working. So we got Application List Manager, simple web tool for potential micro apps, users, developers. Okay, not quite right, but that's okay. List view, states, category, bulk import, destructive. Yeah, great. So what it means is this is what's really powerful about this. I could do a bulk export, get all the data out of the database into some sort of clipboard, take it over to a spreadsheet, and then just go and edit in the spreadsheet. Like, so even if the edit capabilities of this application don't work, by having this concept here and here, we have a really easy way of getting data into and out of. We got some filtering, editing. Yep, great. Oh, look, it's not doing CRUD screens. It's just data is edited directly in the table view. I think that'll keep things simple. Add new application manually. Look, I'm just going to trust this. Basic wireframe. Okay. So, do we go straight to here, or do we go to Leonardo? Okay. Now, what am I thinking here? What I'm thinking with a GPT view is this is perfect. What I now need is two things. The first is how many screens and what are their names? Is it just one screen or are there more than one? And then after that, whatever screens you tell me you think we need, can you create a simple UX description of each of those screens? And then thirdly, can I ask you to create a simple prompt that matches the UX design that you have described to something that I could draw in a tool like Midjourney? Keep in mind that there are best practices on those sorts of prompts. Okay, so I want to visualize this before I even start. Now, this will not do a perfect job. Like Midjourney and Leonardo AI are not designed for this sort of output, but there are other tools out there that are. I don't know what they are. If you know what they are, please put a comment down below. And what we should be able to do once we've got the UX description, so it said we need a list, an import, and a category management, and then it's written some prompts. Okay. Cool. We'll just run with that. So jump on over to Leonardo AI and we'll paste it in. And I've gone 16:9 quality format, number of images 4. Now illustration, that's good. That's kind of what we want to see. And we're after a clean and modern UI wireframe concept for an application list manager. Now, one of the things about using Replit is that when you're entering information, you can upload images. Now, I doubt that the image that we're going to get here is what I want to actually upload. You need something quite close to what you need. So a mock UI. I'm just going to say, oh, that was a mistake. Can you use mock UX components? Generate that one as well. So we got 2 coming through. One which is only really going to be a variation on whatever we got here. But let's see what it did come up with. So here we've got a tabular format in the middle. Oh guys, sorry, didn't have this all showing. Let's just jump back for a second and go, what are we generating? So here's our little list manager. We got table, we got some cards, and we've got some sort of menu going on over the side. So this is one way of looking at it. We'll move on. Got another one, and another one. And I'll tell you, this is why this is probably not a great image for the mock we want to do, because the only thing I'm interested in is this bit in the middle. I don't want any of that. This is part of a more complex application structure. Now we come back here and let's see what we got. We've got a list manager. You know what? I might just go SC1 and get myself a screenshot of just that. I think this will be a good one for us to put into the application. Let's see what else we got here. Here. Look, any of them are okay, but they're not clear. These are diffusion models. They're the wrong tool for generating user experience diagrams or user diagrams. I don't know what you call them. Okay, let's click on here. And I had a directory that I just created. Let's go pwdc, go here, and we'll paste that in. And what did I just create? There's our image. We'll press open. And did that not work? Why did that not work? Press open. There it is. Fantastic. Let's go to our GPT view and let's take everything from there. We're not interested in the prompt, of course, and we'll put it up here. I'm just wondering if I've created too much. I'm not going to keep the import or category management. Just going to do this, and we're going to start building. Now, I've never tried with an image from Leonardo AI. It could have been a mistake. We'll just make sure we got this bit of information as well, so it looks like we missed it. And we're using what when we start this off, we're using the agent capability within Replit. And when you use the agent capability, it ends up costing from your credits 25 cents each time you use an agent. So this can rack up pretty quickly, which it can be problematic, not so much from the cost itself, but it becomes problematic from the fact that you're often going backwards and forwards because it just makes, it just goes backwards and forwards. And you go, why am I spending $1, $2, $3 for it to fix up things that were working a little bit earlier? It's one of the reasons why, as I get into this, I want to keep it really simple when I start. And this is probably where we go. Build the initial prototype. It's going, add multi-user support, implement real-time collaboration. Like, what are you trying to do to me? I don't always have trust. Now, okay. We're investigating the issue. Can I try again? I've never seen this particular issue, and I hope it doesn't blow the whole live stream out of the window. It does straight away. So let's just see if we can recover as we go. So we go to the home and we'll just start a new one. And what we'll do is just copy the basic ideas that I want. We will not use an image, and we'll start again and we'll start building. We're connected. Just do a refresh on here, see if there's anything going on at the moment. That was test tracker. That's an older one, so we'll come back to this. We're building an initial prototype. We'll approve the plan. This is good. We got a I didn't know. So here's the capability. If you didn't know about it, you can roll back. So when I've had issues in the past, I could have actually rolled back to a particular location and branched off. I could have changed my prompt, basically. And once you've got something working, if you go further and it's not working, don't try to get it back working again. Go to the rollback. That's the learning from today. From time to time, I'm going to say, "Hey Theodore." Now, the reason I'm saying that is that an AI agent is in the middle of being built at the moment to listen to my live streams and to do research. So, "Hey Theodore," one of the learnings from this particular live stream is that if code stops working, there is a rollback point that you can go into. "Hey Theodore, this section of the video that I've just talked about would be useful as a YouTube short." Okay, so back to the live stream. I've given two agents two different outcomes. One is just package up a little bit of knowledge, and the second one is potentially come up with a script for a YouTube short, because I've said everything that we needed. Now it's running. What are we doing? 2 minutes. I noticed there's an error. Let me fix that. So it's fixing things itself. It's really cool. So the idea of Project Theodore is when we're just doing things in life, if we're recording it and agents are watching what we're doing, can we not have them go off and execute tasks just by our thoughts? And all we've got to do is let them know. It's like if you're in a meeting. Let's say you have a personal assistant and you're in a meeting and you're talking with different people, and then you turn to the personal assistant and say, "Can you go and do research on this topic we've just done?" And that person has full knowledge of the conversation beforehand. They're in the room with you. And they go, "Sure, I'll bring that down, boil it down, think it through. I have agency." That's what an assistant has. And we'll execute the task. But imagine now you've got multiple assistants. So you've got a YouTube video creator assistant, and you've got a research assistant, and you can have any number of assistants you want. So now we have an application. Now, how? I assume this little button is open a web view. Let's do, why is that even different to what I was just on? I don't think it is. I was hoping that would open it up in a new screen, but okay. Search application. We have an input. You know what? We do not know what import applications. Let's take a screenshot. Okay, cool. Let's do that. And let's come back to a GPT view and say, do you have the list of applications that I'm thinking of working with? If you do, can you just put them into a code block for me? Now, one of the things I'm noticing while it writes that, oh gosh, now, bummer. I'm in canvas mode, so it's just updating the canvas, and this is not what I wanted to do. Can I just kill that? Kill that? Can you stop? I don't think it's going to. The problem I've got with what I've just done is that I did not need this in the requirements document. This was just a simple question that I wanted information from. So I'm going to firstly start a new ChatGPT window. I'm going to make sure that let's turn this Siri off. I'll make sure that we are in a particular project. This is the one. And I'm going to say, I'm going to give you a structure for an import data document. It's JSON. It's a JSON array. And I'm also going to give you a list of applications, and we need to map it into the structure. One of the things when I show you the structure, which will come forth in an image, is that it has a category ID and it's currently an integer, and that is incorrect. It needs to be just a string. Before I give you that list, can you just read this image? Now I'm going to come back to our web application before we even do this and say, now I don't want to use the agent, we'll add a database to store user data. So let's, before we even do this import, and I'll just show you what popped up by the way. So it read the image, it got all of that. So let me know when you're ready. Okay, so let's add a database. I just clicked on something, that was a mistake. I'm not sure what it's meant to do. And then the next thing I'll want to do is, if we come down here, we're on agents at the moment, but I'll probably want to head over to assistants. So they're 5 cents per edit. So they're a bit different. Now I don't know when I said add a database, whether I'm still within this same agent. I've got no clue. One thing I just saw there was that the number came through as an integer. Let's also come back to our conversation over here while that's happening and talk about the schema that it built. There's the application list. We'll get out of here. So me bad. I did not validate this. If I'd have validated this correctly, I might have just had some sort of string. Like, this is actually the right way to do it, but I am trying to just keep things to simple strings. It just makes it a lot easier on the import process. So this is exactly correct. It's just not what I want to do. So maybe I don't want to change the database. That's fine. I just need to make sure that the import can handle it. Okay. Because that is the correct way. So now, where did this all come from? I saw the ID here and I thought, no, I don't want to import IDs. So my immediate thing in my head, which was wrong, was, oh, change the structure of the data, but that is the right way to do the data. What's wrong is that the import mechanism is incorrect for my use case. Okay, so can you check? Now, do we have no ability to add things? And oh, look at that, we've got a category manager. This is cool. Let's test this one. So let's go and look at some categories we got. We got utility. I'm just popping up this list over here and we'll just create it. Now I press create. We've got a little toast message down under my image, so you can't quite see it. We'll say AI assisted and we'll add it, and we'll take a screenshot here. We'll say here, let's do that. And everything I was just saying a moment ago may all change, because I'm going to just paste this in. This is a different table that we need to import. It's the categories table. Can you just grab the fields that you can see and understand the structure? Now, while that's happening, we'll go into pure GPT view. We'll drop back here. We'll grab this and we'll come back to here. Great. Now can you take this list? Note that everything is lowercase with dashes. I'm going to remove that because I don't know whether it's got an implicit ability to map the values, and we can test this. So I'm just going to paste them in. Can you take this list and map? So all we're doing is building an array of values. Okay, this now it's done that. This is a bit of a problem, but we'll press copy. We'll go back to our GPT web view, pop in over here, paste. And my expectation is that we will see all of these values and these two will be replaced. So remember, and it's automated. Oh, wow. How cool is that? Very cool. Make sure all the values are lowercase. Now, we got a part of the application tested and working really cool. Not how I had it in my head, but it's really good. And it's all worked from the one-shot prompt. Everything's worked so far. So usually have a fair bit of anxiety using this tool because it's pot luck sometimes. But there, we've got our categories. Wonderful. Okay. Do we have an export? Let's go to the manager. Export what? What did it do? Applications, 30-day tracker. Let's open that file. You can't see it. Let's go to a VS Code view for a sec. Minimize this. Okay. Not good. Here's my challenge. My challenge as I think this through is that there's an import capability for this that expects an ID, but we don't know what the IDs are. This was the reason I didn't want to have to worry about IDs here. So what we'll do is we'll test it and it will fail is what I think will happen. In fact, I'm sure it'll happen, but we'll come back to this section of our system and we'll say, where's our list? It wasn't there. It was, I pressed the wrong button, press escape. We'll come back to here. We'll find that list we had. It's in here. And we will create it. And I've lost our structure. It's good. I now want you to create the application import structure that you described below. I've given you a bunch of categories, so hopefully you can imply the category name. I need you to set the status for everything.id, and I need you to create the actual application name based off this list. Is that everything? Yep. Cool. So now we're going to get a JSON array structure. I assume something seems a bit slow. Why is it slow? Okay. At this point, there's two things I want to do. I want to just do a refresh on the page. That might be the answer. And then after that, I want to go into edit mode and press send and see if it pops up a list. Okay, the data's coming through. So it's figured out categories. Now they shouldn't be IDs because we don't know the IDs. Status is fine, the name is fine. Can you rename category ID to category? Now it's at this point we will import this and the code will fail because we've never once told it that there's a concept of category. It knows about category ID, but it would have failed on that anyway because it was expecting a number and we've given a string. So we will just press copy and we'll head over to our view and we'll do an import and we'll paste it in, and it will just not work. It worked, it just didn't set. Oh man, that is so cool. That is so cool. Right, let's go to the assistant, and let's see if we can make it work as well. Everything is working really well. I love what you've done. Don't change the nature of the application. But I have one requested change, and it's when I'm doing the bulk import of the applications, I would like to give the category not as a category ID, but just as the name category. And what I want to do is pass a string to you, and that should be able to be looked up or upserted into the category table. Now I use the term upserting. It's just joining the concept of inserting or updating. It's called upserting. So what it should do behind the scenes is go and query that table, go, do I have it? Yes, I do. Update it. And we don't really need to update it. It's really just create if not exist, but upsert should still make sense. So we'll just press enter on that. And what we theoretically should do, and we'll just come back to our little GPT while that's, let's watch it while we're over here. And so what's a really interesting but simple game that we haven't got on the list, and can you add it as the first row? So at the moment we've got a bunch of items, and we're basically going to put in a new item here, and it's called game 248. I don't even know what that is. That's okay. So why did I do that? The reason I did that is if everything works and we come to this screen, we should see the categories get filled in. That would be good. We have the categories. That's awesome. So let's also test that these are going to change. Can you make sure that the game is not in games, but in experiments? Because part of our testing is also seeing that we get a new area in here called experiments. So we look at our data coming through, and we've got game 248. It's an idea, it's an experiment. And, you know, one other capability. Where's our list manager? I don't see the list manager. But look, one thing at a time. Copy. Now, we can't test it yet. Now, you can import it, but instead of IDs, will automatically be created if they do not exist, or reused. Yeah, so it won't be upserted because there's not two values, there's only one. So if it finds it, use it. Let's apply that change to the application. It's writing code, which, what's it doing? It's loading the page. This is getting ready to go. And we've got a copy of our data. I'm just going to go into import. So here's the expectation. All of these categories should fill in. A new category called experiments should show up here. And I don't think we have a count of how many items are here. It'll be good. But a new entry should happen at the top, mainly because that's where we put it in the array. So we press, look at that category. And that's so come back to here. That is the values. We got name. Yep. Status, you can't see it on the screen. It's behind this window. It's idea. And category. Experiments. Beautiful. Let's go here and test it out. Now, game 248. Categories. not updated. So something didn't work, but the rest of it may have. Let's go over here. We'll do it one more time. We'll do it differently. So what we've just learnt is that the experiments did not insert. So there's a bug. I'm not fixing it because I don't want to. It's not important. You've seen one assistant change the system. You could ask it to do it. Now, can you give me the categories list again, please? Make sure you include experiments. So if you wanted to change it, this is basically the prompt I would do. I noticed that when you're able to look up categories correctly as well, but one thing that didn't work is that the new experiment category did not show up in the list of categories or in the drop down next to game 248. Now, I'm going to leave that there because I reckon we can actually test this prompt, but let's do it a different way for now. So we press this, we go to categories, we go to web, we go to here, we go bulk import. We should see experiments down the bottom in a second. Instead, we had your app failed to run. So we've broken the app. So in doing that import from earlier, we've broken this part of the application. Ouch. And this is where I don't want to, this is where I almost want to end the live stream right here. Let's play around with debugging. This is not a capability I've used. Asked assistant. So we are in assistant. That's a 5-cent call at the moment, not a 25-cent, which would happen if this was the agent. And apply all. We'll just do it. Checkpoint made. Running. I'm just going to drop this in here. This is a prompt I want to test, but I don't know whether we can test it yet. I'm just going to go over here, make sure I got a copy of this information. I'm going to go over to the categories. I'm going to run an import and you can see it coming through. And great, that came through. This is cool. Now, what I'm going to do is just modify it and call it X-Men and failed again. Great, not great, bugger. Take a copy of this. Let's go back to here. You can check if the application is running. Why do I not have take a screenshot, present, restarted the application, created, executed. So as I said, I'm learning this application and it looks like I've just found it. I was going to ask you if you know how to find rollback points. I don't think it's very clear, the rollback points, for two reasons, right? Here's the one we're interested in. But you almost want to see a timeline across the two different concepts, one being the agent, one being the assistant merged in together. Like where's the actual timeline of everything that's happened in one central location? Because we should be able to do rollbacks based on that, not just this area. Because we could come to here. Have we got a rollback here? Undo these changes. We could undo them. Do I want to undo the change? Well, the thing is that the fix doesn't work, but the thing before it didn't work either. So we'll come back here. We'll roll back to this location. And we've got a limping application. There are bugs. Now, I'm not too concerned because so far I'm pretty impressed today, really. We go over to categories, we'll jump in there. I don't think we're going to test that one. We'll get it our GPT list, we'll copy this. We've got no categories, we'll refresh. We should now have experiments in the list. We do. We can go over to our application manager. We can do an import. We can go to this particular list, copy it. We'll go back to our web view. We'll paste it in. Ah, bugger. Now doesn't support the ID. So let's come back to here. Let's instead go to this checkpoint. Restore this commit. Now, if it runs okay, we've got our categories. We've got this. We'll do an import. And this one, still not saying ID. And we've got, that was a lovely message. It told us that that was wrong. And imported, great, but we're back to this problem where this is not selected. So we did fix this at one stage, but now we talk about what are the key learnings for today. So let's jump into, where's the bit I wanted to talk about, that bit. Can I build an app daily? Well, first thing is I can build part of an application today. The idea was to have a list of applications. We've got them. We can import them, kind of. There's bugs. We don't have the ability to select them, but, well, no, we do, because if we pop into here, we can change the drop down. You can see it here. We can say it's done, right? Built, yep, we can do that. So this is all cool. And once we've done that, we should be able to export the data. Let's look at that. So we don't have the tool that we're working on today, but let's go to this expense tracker. Let's say it is built. Let's click on the export button, and it's gone and generated a file which we can go and, how do we open it up? I've done a double click on it. Why is it opening it up in Xcode? Jeez, it's just a JSON document. Head over to Visual Studio. I'll show you guys what we're looking at, and we'll just paste this in. And oh, there it is. It's down the bottom. Let's go to the very bottom. And it is built. This is great. We can also see bugs in the data. It's not linked to the category, but it is in the system. So come back to the topic at hand. We can build a micro app. We haven't finished it. It is something that anyone who is not a developer can do. I'm not really doing any coding. I do have understanding of the coding process, which is a valuable skill, but hopefully you're seeing it's pretty easy. Most of what this live stream was about in the first half was defining the application requirements. And the key takeaway is keep it simple, right? Don't try to put boundaries on what you're going to create, because the more, even with a simple application, we had a bunch of problems. So the more complexity you build, the more you go around in circles trying to solve issues. So if you need a proof of concept, you can do it. We are 59 minutes in this video, so even describing the whole process, this is like really it's a 20-minute job to build a proof of concept application. Now, hands-on, interactive, starting with requirements, live coding, we did that, troubleshoot it in real time. I think that's just going to be the day in the life of the next 30 days, is this troubleshooting. I'm sharing the insights, and we are essentially done. So the last thing, I guess, to talk about, let's just go there, and while we're at it, there. Okay. So if you want to look at what I do more on the regular video areas, we're in the live stream, we're in Appy Dave research at the moment, but come over, subscribe to Appy Dave. If you want to work with me around doing this sort of work, and there's two areas I like to work in with people, it's either just pair programming. How do you use one of these tools to create a bit of software? It's like a done with you sort of approach. The other is agentic workflows. So you can find out connection information down the bottom here and connect more with me. Anyway, I'm Happy Dave. Have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow for the day 2 application, which I'm not sure what we're going to do. Okay, goodbye.